Hey guys, it's Barbie with Two Friends in the Bible. I have been trying to get this video up since yesterday, and I am having terrible internet issues. It seems like that keeps happening. So I literally rolled out of the bed this morning and came in here to do this so that I can try and get it done. I want to get us caught up on our news. So some of the stuff that you hear, you might have already heard because I am a few days behind. So I'm going to get some more information together today and update you on more things. And today we're going to be talking about Russia, the UN resolution against Russia, China, Iran, Israel, Armenia, the U.S., red heifers, basically anything that has to do with end time news. Pretty much all this has to do with end time news. So I know, say it isn't so. There's a lot going on. Okay, so I know last week Amtrak had canceled all their long distance trains because of the railroad going on strike. But on Friday, I believe number 46 got involved and they came to what they said was a resolution. And so they did not strike. They were supposed to strike, went on strike starting midnight last Friday. Well, they didn't. And honestly, if they do, that's about $2 billion per day in cargo that will be affected. I heard yesterday, though, now there are several of the unions that are not happy with this strike. With this resolution. So it's still a possibility it could strike. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. You know, trains carry a lot of cargo, but they also carry our military equipment. So that could not be good. Well, it's not going to be good regardless, but we'll keep an eye on it. And did you guys hear that Governor DeSantis sent 2 planes of illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard? Yeah, it didn't go well. They didn't like it at all. And then also Governor Abbott of Texas sent 2 buses and dropped them off in front of Vice President Harris's house. And they're saying they're going to keep doing it until they come to something, do something to stop some of this just influx of illegal immigrants coming in. And then the ones that they bust had come from Venezuela. Now we're hearing that Venezuela actually has released prisoners, and I mean bad prisoners, not just ones in for a small misdemeanor drug charge or something, but bad, really bad prisoners, and they're sending them to our border. So that's not good. Okay, this past Wednesday, last week, a Delaware judge ruled that a new vote by mail law enacted earlier this year is unconstitutional and that voting by mail cannot be used in this November's election. Now, I'm assuming that people that could get, that could ask for a mail-in ballot, let's say they're disabled or maybe elderly. I didn't read that, but I would think those would still be okay, but not an actual everyone vote by mail. So that's become, they've said that is unconstitutional. Okay, November 1st, Israel is having their elections. And again, I think it's the 5th one in 3 years or something, but they're having their elections again. And it's looking really good for Netanyahu to possibly win. Many Israel ministers have come forward and said they're going to support him. So that would probably be a good thing. I know a lot of the Israelis and the Jews, they really liked Netanyahu. It just, he got voted out because he didn't have enough of the bigger dogs supporting him to keep his party going. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. One of the things that someone told me is sometimes God allows someone who we think should not be in office to be in office to let whatever he's got going go into play. So maybe he had something he needed Israel to do, and that's why Netanyahu was taken out, because it wouldn't have been done otherwise. And now it's been done. We'll see, but kind of the same with our country in the U.S. You got number 45, who lost the elections, and we thought that, he was going to win. Of course, many people believe that he did win, that it was a cheated election, I guess. I don't know. I can't really comment on that. And so I don't know, maybe God allowed 46, to get in there because these things needed to happen to get us to the end times. I mean, with 40, when 45 was in, regardless if we liked his tweets or not, and some other things that he might have done, some people didn't like them. We had 3.5 years of, really good peace in the world. Our 401ks look good. I mean, all that was going on. And, some are saying that maybe that was our 3.5 years to get our lives together. And then now that number 46 is in, everything's gone poof. And everyone in this world is fighting. Everybody. It's ridiculous. But yes, everyone is fighting. All these children are out there just fighting, fighting, fighting. So we'll keep an eye on Netanyahu and see what happens. And Israel continues to strike right at the Damascus International Airport. And, of course, they're attacking the cargo areas. They don't want, they're trying, it's in Damascus is in Syria. And that's where Iran is housing all their military equipment and stuff. So that's why they're attacking that area. They're not attacking civilians, but they're trying to take out all their arsenal. And, if you read, I think it's Isaiah 17, it talks about Damascus will be a ruinous heap in the end time. So it's interesting that they're going after Damascus, which of course it's because of what's in Damascus, but it's still, nothing's a coincidence when it comes to God. So we'll keep an eye on that and see, now some people believe that particular prophecy has already been fulfilled, Damascus being the oldest city in the world. And it is technically not the best city anymore. It's not in the best shape anymore. So a lot of people think that it's already been taken out, that prophecy's already been fulfilled. I don't think it has yet. I think that prophecy still needs to be fulfilled because it's still inhabitable and people do still live there. So I'm kind of thinking maybe not, that still needs to happen. And I don't know if you guys heard about the red heifers, the 5 red heifers that were delivered to Israel on Friday. I am going to do another video on the red heifers because it'll take too long on this video and what the importance of those are for the Jews, but the Christians as well, and end time prophecy. I'm going to do one in just a little, probably this afternoon on that, just to kind of explain the importance of that, okay? And so I'll get back with you on that. Okay, so I keep an eye on, I watch a guy that keeps an eye on what's going on with like all the military planes and whatnot in the world. And right now we're seeing a lot of military aircraft over the Middle East as well in Europe, more so than we've been seeing. So it's a lot more. So something's ramping up. We'll keep we'll pay attention to that too. And China has stated that Russia and China are ready to form together and start the new world order. So that should be interesting, right? Of course, that's just end time prophecy, right? New world order. And in the United States, if you are noticing that you are having a lot of internet issues, we have a lot of cyber attacks coming from Europe and Asia into America. So that would be why you're seeing that. It might be what my problem is. I don't know. But that's what they're saying. They're working on the internet. We have a lot. I saw an actual picture of where they're coming from. And it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. Okay, so the White House is talking about putting sanctions on China. I don't think that's going to end well. It did not end well for us when we put sanctions on Russia. Our inflation's through the roof. I think it's just going to make it worse. Our supply chain coming from China already is not good. It's going to get worse. So I think it's just going to make things worse if we put sanctions on China. I don't think it's a good idea. Okay, we all know that Ukraine has pushed back Russia. But I think pretty much everyone felt like Russia was just going to go in and destroy Ukraine because Russia has a bigger military, more money. more equipment, just, everything. So we really felt like Russia was just going to go boop and it was going to be done. And here we are, what, 8 months later, and they're still working on it. And on top of that, now Ukraine is pushing back. Ukraine is taking back some of the cities. And I don't think Russia expected the United States to send the billions and billions of dollars in equipment and everything that we've been sending Ukraine. I don't think they expected that to happen. And that's the only reason Ukraine is being able to push back, is because of the amount that we have been sending. I think what's going to happen is that, I know the Kremlin, there's been several people in the Kremlin who's trying to get Putin to resign. I don't think he will. He has his own personal army, 40,000 that surround him. He's protected. I know there was an assassination attempt on him last week, but yeah, it didn't work. But I don't know. I think, Putin's getting older. I can only guess that this has made him very angry, because they've wasted all that money, all that time, all those soldiers, and now they're turning around and losing. So I think, I'm afraid he's either going to pull out some chemical attacks, or it's possible he could pull the nukes. If he pulls the nukes, that's going to involve, NATO's going to get involved. So maybe he won't, but I don't think he stands really to lose anything, So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that one as well. I do know as of right now, he's taken about 30% of the energy from Ukraine. And he's also started hitting some dams. I know he hit one for sure, pretty big one. So it's caused flooding and stuff. But, all that goes to their energy source. And you got winter coming pretty soon. I mean, here in Georgia, it's going to be 92 today. And, of course, in a couple of days, it'll be back down to 80, thank goodness. I hate when it gets in the 90s. But they're going to get cold soon. And Ukraine and Russia, they can get some nasty weather. So losing that energy, not good. China, okay, moving on. China, Russia, and Iran, their alliance is getting bigger and bigger. Putin met with China's president, I can't say his name, last week. And China did have some concerns about what was going on in the war, and I believe they asked Putin about it. I don't know really what the answers were, but I do know they were questioning it. And I think, personally, originally China has said they were probably going to try and invade Taiwan in like 2026, 2027. And with everything, with us having this really, really weak administration right now, I think they're going to move it up. I do. I think they're going to move those dates up, because we got midterms coming up, and then we got 2024 elections coming. And number 45 has not said he's going to run, but you pretty much can tell he's going to. And I mean, he might not. He might just decide to support everyone else running. But it's looking like he's going to announce that he is. And China's watching for that too, because if he runs and he gets back in, he is a much stronger administration, and China knows that. And if he doesn't run, then that's a different story. But if he does, he's a stronger administration, and China is aware of that. So I believe that they're waiting to see if he says if he's going to run or not. If he's going to run, I can almost guarantee you China's going to move up that invasion of Taiwan, like in the next 6 months. And, I just, if not sooner, it's going to happen. And, with the alliance of China, Russia, and Iran, their goal is to come against America. They do not want America being the superpower. They don't want America being in the middle of everything. And, so they're doing basically an anti-Western alliance, It's also including Pakistan and India. Now, India is not necessarily an anti-American country. However, they're tied up with all those guys. So they're probably going to end up doing what those guys tell them to do. Now, Putin met with the Indian Prime Minister the other day too. And they're They were pretty concerned about what was going on in Ukraine as well. And I don't know what the outcome was that, but they were not very happy about what was going on, and they were questioning him as well on that. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see what's going on. But, even though India is not an anti-American, they are aligned with Russia and whatnot. So we'll see what's going to go. On last Friday, there was a Russian nuclear-powered submarine that fired cruise missiles in the Arctic as part of a military drill designed to test Moscow's readiness for a possible conflict in its icy northern waters. So they're basically practicing, and these took place in the Chukchi Sea, Chukchic, which is an eastern stretch of the Arctic Ocean that separates Russia from Alaska. And that's concerning to me because if Russia's going to attack America, I would think they would do it on that side over by Alaska because it's much, much, much closer, So, and then they've already kind of invaded the space over there about a week or two ago, and now they're doing these drills. And so I'm kind of curious about that. What's going on with that? All right, so going on to the UN, UN's International Atomic Energy Agency released a resolution yesterday and was passed by the 35 board of the IAEA, stating that Russia needs to withdraw all its forces from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So UN's passed a resolution telling Russia you need to withdraw. Let's see if he listens. I don't think he will. Defense Minister Gantz revealed a map showing 10 Iranian missile facilities in Syria. We did talk about this last week, but what I found interesting is one of these facilities is actually called Damascus. Yeah. And Isaiah specifically states Damascus will be a ruinous heap. So maybe it's not the city. We'll see. There was an Iranian woman that was arrested in Iran for violating the laws of the jihad, all that stuff they wear. And she violated the laws. And so she was arrested, and she ended up being killed while in custody. And that has caused hundreds of women in Iran to stop their jihads and to go against the government and protest. That's a big deal. First off, they're women. And women are cattle to Iranian men. Women are nothing. So to get these women to do that, the risk of them being killed, right, whatever, is huge. So that was big for them to do that, and I'm impressed with them. That had to be hard. It was in support of another woman, and I think it's awesome that they did that. Now we got Ethiopia. Ethiopia's had a few days of air raids, and 10 people have been reported dead already. I don't have a lot of information on it as of yet, but they're basically fighting now as well. So now you got Azerbaijan, and I know I butchered that name, invading Armenia. Yesterday or the day before, I don't know why, Pelosi was in Armenia. And she's talking about they need to be away from their borders. They don't need to be coming in their borders. And we're listening to that, and we're like, what's going on here? People are coming in our borders all the time. But she's, blaming Azerbaijan, telling them they don't need to be coming in the borders of Armenia. And and that's American boots. Yeah. So we're going to keep an eye on that too. You got Turkey and Greece fighting. You've got Ethiopia fighting. Let's see, Azerbaijan and Armenia is fighting against each other. You've got, it's just everybody's fussing, everybody. And then on top of all, one countries are reporting unrest. Sri Lanka's starving. Africa is predicted to be starving by the end of the year, if not sooner, because they're running out. India had an outbreak of their cattle. Now, Muslims they basically worship cows. So they don't eat them or nothing, but apparently they raise them for money. And they had 60,000 cattle die of a disease over the last week. That's just more food famine, because that food comes out to other countries, and it hurts them economically to lose that, but it also hurts anywhere that is exported to. So yeah, that's just more going on with that. And then on top of that, you got all the weather stuff going on. Alaska's getting on the west coast of Alaska is getting hit with the worst storm it's ever seen. Massive flooding's going on. Taiwan had a 7 earthquake just a few days ago. In Taiwan, they get earthquakes. It's not uncommon. They get them like every couple of days, but they're usually like 1.5, 2.5s. They're not usually any bigger than that. And I mean, they're usually just, a little. But so to get a 7, that's really big for them. And actually, I think it was a 6.9. But to get that, that's huge. And right before they got the 6.9, they got a 6.4. That was 24 hours prior. And 24 hours prior to that, they got a 5.4. So, and they've been hit with 16 earthquakes in like a few days period. Now, some of those were the 1s and the 2s, but many were like 5, 6, and then you had the 6.9. And that's just not heard of there. That does not happen. And so you got Japan. Japan was hit with a typhoon. Huge flooding going on there. And this is in addition to the fires going on in our country and the droughts going on everywhere. So it's like you're either getting flooded out, you're getting shook to death, or you're getting fires. It's just insane. Yesterday, Puerto Rico was hit by a hurricane. Big hurricane, and their entire country is in a blackout. Actually, I don't think the hurricane was that big, but it brought a lot of water, and it's flooded, mudslides, tsunami warnings, which I think they did end up having a tsunami. And I don't know what the results, how bad that one was. From the couple of videos I saw, I mean, any's bad, but it wasn't one that like happened a few years ago where like 300,000 people died, but they still ended up with one. And but their country's in a blackout. There's major flooding in Italy. Italy received 6 months of rain in 3 hours. That's how much rain they received. They are flooded. Cyprus was hit with a M4 earthquake. California was hit with an M4 earthquake. And this is in addition to the 2 M7 earthquakes that hit in the West Pacific last week. And now we've had one hit in the East Pacific. And anytime they do that, it's in the ocean, but that fault line goes places. And so it ricochets down, and then it ends up hitting wherever the next land is. And that's what all this is coming off of all these in the Pacific. Right now it's predicted that because of the ones that hit, I think in the West Pacific, that Oregon, California, and Chile is now on the alert for earthquakes. And Arizona had one yesterday that was a 4. So and they're shaking. Yeah. And if you ever read about the end times and you read those seals, those trumpets, and those bowls, there's earthquakes throughout the whole thing. And Jesus warns that in Matthew 24 about the birthing pains, and the birthing pains are going to be wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, And there's going to be earthquakes, which is seismos. It's Greek for seismos. That's the word that it was translated from. And seismo actually means air stream. Basically, it means natural disasters. So it's not just earthquakes, it's any type of a natural disaster. Okay, so he warns against all that. And we're not getting more earthquakes, I don't believe, maybe just a few more than what we normally do. We are getting harder, stronger earthquakes. Okay, so you know how a woman goes in labor, her contractions get harder and harder. Well, that's what we're seeing. And when the fault lines, there's like Georgia even got a 2.5. Yeah, sure, it was a baby, but it's not that common. And South Carolina's got 700% more earthquakes than they ever had. So what I think is happening is that fault lines that have been asleep are waking up, and they're getting stronger. Yeah. So, and if you read the bowls, trumpets, seals, earthquakes throughout the whole thing. So, yeah, we're going to be getting them. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a couple little news headlines I have, and then I will be done. The Earth is facing a triple threat from the sun. A destructive solar flare could strike us soon. There was a sunstorm that started in 2020, and it will go on for 11 years. This storm could hit its peak in about 3.5 years. Now, if we were pre-trib and let's say we got raptured this fall, next couple of weeks, let's just give an example. 3.5 years would be about the time that the abomination of desolation happens and when the trumpets start opening. So that's interesting, And so far, these solar flares, the Earth has been lucky, been very blessed, and escaped a lot of the solar flares while it's ramping up and going through this cycle. Some of the stronger storms this year have been directed towards Venus. So Venus has been hit a couple of times, and I did talk about this in an update a couple of weeks ago, but it's turning now so that it's facing the Earth. So we're expecting to start getting some of that. And to make things worse, 2 other sunspots have joined in and could and probably will make a CME storm. Now, a CME storm will cause massive earthquakes as well, okay? And they're saying the strongest storm, a G5, which is the solar flares, could hit our planet in the next few days or so. We'll see what happens. And that's not from a Christian paper. I actually got that from a scientific paper. Okay, we'll see how that happens. If you read in the balls, even in the from the sun, and then in the Trump balls, the sun actually ends up burning people really bad. Anyone that has the mark, it's just burning them. It's so hot. So is this leading up to that? Okay, so I think that's about it for right now. I didn't tell you. Oh, this was just something interesting. There's a new law in Illinois that is going to start in January 2023, this coming January. But those charged with second-degree murder, aggravated battery, and arson will be able to get out without bail. Yeah, they'll get arrested, but they can get out without even having to post bail. Second-degree murder, aggravated battery, and arson. Right? Isn't that crazy? Unbelievable. All right, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And I want to leave you with this. Peace I leave you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. John 14:27. Okay, so Jesus is telling us not to be afraid. He's left us his peace, and we just need to not, just to keep his peace, not be afraid. But he does instruct us to watch. And he does, and he does say we won't know the day or hour, that he's coming. But it doesn't mean we can't tell the season. And the season is definitely getting close. I will do the red heifer video later and do a few more updates. I just wanted to get these out of the way. One last thing that I wanted to tell you is a couple of weeks ago, I reported about the Abraham family house that they're making in UAE, the country of UAE. And it's going to have a synagogue, a church, and whatever the Muslims call their place. And the church is not going to be allowed to have a cross because crosses are not allowed in the UAE. And it's going to be all together. It's going to be the world headquarters for the one world religion. It was supposed to originally been ready by December of this year. Now they're saying it's going to be ready in October next month. And it's headed by Pope Francis. And if there's any Catholics on here, please don't take this personal, but a lot of stuff that he's doing is pointing towards a false prophet type person. Maybe the false prophet. I don't know. He's a little bit older, but so was Moses. So was Noah. So, well, of course, they lived a little bit longer back then, but still, they were older. So, it might not be, but a lot of people are believing he's possibly going to be that false prophet. And then a couple of days ago, and they're going to be calling it Chrislam. 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 But Christ is not mentioned in any of it. None. They're saying it's for that those three can go together because we serve the same God. Jews and Christians do serve the same God, but not Muslims. And the Jews don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. So they're going to be so fooled by the Antichrist, because they're going to be thinking he's coming. But Chrislam, which is led by Pope Francis, leaders of the world religious formally adopt human fraternity document at 7th Congress. So yeah, they got together and approved it. Everything's good to go. It is now Chrislam. Yeah. It is so amazing, read the Bible and seeing all these things fulfill, all these things that we were warned about. And it was, 30 years ago, we'd have been like, what? No way. Yeah way. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And this is the first time I've done a live, and I'm sorry I'm a hot mess, but I wanted to get this on because I refuse to have my internet do this to me. It is not going to win. You guys have a great one. Bye-bye.